What's poppin' everyone? It's Scout Eveleth, your local realtor, and today's video is going to be your ultimate guide to taxes and CDDs here in the Villages, Florida. By the end of this video, you'll understand how taxes are calculated, what areas have the best and worst tax rates, and what you can do to help save money on your taxes. So, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or just wanting to stay up to date on everything that's happening here in the Villages, Florida, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. So with that said, thank you so much and let's get right into it. First, let's talk about how taxes are calculated here in the Villages, Florida, and what makes them so different from many other places. Now keep in mind, property taxes are going to vary a lot throughout the Villages, but how much you end up paying is always going to be based on two things. The first is going to be the assessed value of your home, and the second is going to be the millage rate, which we're going to go more in depth on a bit later. So let's first talk about assessed value and what it is. Assessed value is determined by your local county or self-governing body, and it is always going to be based on a percentage of the home's fair market value. Now, factors that determine a home's assessed value are going to be things like recent home sales, square footage, and even current market conditions. But again, this is going to vary quite a bit, kind of case by case, depending on the county. Now, keep in mind, assessed value is going to be very different than market value. The market value of a home is usually what it will sell for under normal circumstances. However, today we are mostly talking about assessed value because this is what they are going to use to base your property taxes on, and keep in mind this is going to usually be less than the market value of your home. Another factor affecting the assessed value of the home is actually going to be how long the owners have lived in that particular home. Here in Florida, as long as your property is homesteaded, which we will talk more about later in the video, then the assessed value of your home is capped and will never increase more than 3% annually. This cap is thanks to the Save Our Homes assessment, which we have established here in the state of Florida on all primary residences that are homesteaded, and this will end up saving you a ton of money over the long run. Now, anytime a home changes ownership, such as buying or selling, and on January 1st at the beginning of every year, the local property appraiser is going to reassess and reevaluate, basically update the home's new value to a new assessed value. And once they determine this new assessed value for your home, this is what your property taxes are going to be based on for the following year. So I know we've been talking a lot about the assessed value of homes here in the Villages, but now we're going to talk about a few exemptions that you can apply to your assessed value that will end up bringing it down and end up saving you quite a bit of money on your taxes every year. So here are all the possible exemptions in the state of Florida on screen now, and you can see that there's quite a bit of them that could end up saving you some money. The homestead exemption is going to be the most common for people who are Florida residents. The senior exemption will apply to some people, and we'll go over that more in just a moment. We also have a $5,000 exemption for widows or widowers, $5,000 for a disability, as well as $5,000 exemption for a blind person. So be sure to take a screenshot of this and where you can research it a little bit more yourself, because I'm not going to be covering all these. The main two that I am going to be covering though is going to be the homestead as well as the senior exemption. So if you wanted to look more in depth on the rest of these, feel free to do that whenever you can. Now again, on screen, I want to go ahead and show you exactly what you'll need for the homestead exemption, because again, this applies to most people where Florida is their primary residence. This is going to be everything you need if you're applying for homestead, as well as seeing if you qualify. I went ahead and pulled this off of the SumterCountyTaxCollector.com. So again, feel free to take a screenshot of this if you need to go ahead and do this, or check out the eligibility, as well as seeing what type of documentation you're going to need when you end up filing for your homestead exemption. Alright, and now I want to go ahead and give you some of the requirements for the senior exemption. This would give you an additional $50,000 towards your homestead exemption, so it could end up saving you a lot of money on your taxes. And here are the requirements on screen now. I'll go ahead and put them up here for you. And the thing that is going to eliminate a lot of people from this is going to be that income requirement. So unfortunately, if you are above the threshold, which is set based on the consumer pricing index, then you are not able to qualify for this. But if you know somebody who does, or if this is you, make sure you take advantage of it because it does give you some great savings on your taxes. Alright, so now we've discussed the assessed value of homes, who determines that, as well as the possible exemptions that you can apply for to help bring that assessed value down. And this is important to understand because once you know the assessed value of your home, which will usually be set by your local county, and you apply all of the possible exemptions for your home or what's going to apply to you, this gives you the taxable value of your home, which is going to be very relevant when you're figuring out how much your taxes are going to be, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. Now, the second component for how your property taxes are going to be calculated is using something called the millage rate. Now, millage is a tax rate defined as dollars assessed per $1,000 of value. This one mil is $1 per thousand in taxable value, which is what we were just talking about. Again, taxable value takes your assessed value minus your exemptions, gives you the taxable value. For example, if you have a home with a taxable value of $400,000 and a millage rate of 10.5, which we're going to discuss more in just a sec, then the estimated property taxes you're going to owe is going to be about $4,200. This calculation is done by taking the taxable value of the home, dividing that number by 1,000, multiplying it by the millage rate, and this gives you a great estimate of what the property taxes are going to be each year. Now, figuring out what the millage rate is on any pre-owned home is going to be super easy. All you're going to have to do is go online to the local tax collector. So if you're looking at a home in Sumter County, this will be Sumter County Tax Collector. Lake County will be Lake County, and Marion would be Marion. And you're going to go on there, look at the most recent tax bill. This is very important. Look at the most recent tax bill because this is public record, and it will give you that millage rate, and you can use that to make this calculation by yourself. Now, you can check out the millage rate on any pre-owned home here in the Villages super easily. All you have to do is go online and look at a previous year's tax bill, and it'll give it to you so you can do this calculation all on your own. So to make this even easier for you, let's go ahead and check this out together. So I'll walk you through the process of finding the millage rate on any home that you're looking for. Alright, so let's go ahead and show you how you can find the millage rate on a property that you're interested in to get an estimate of what the taxes are going to be. The very first thing is that you're going to type in whichever county tax collector the home is located in. So for example, we'll go ahead and use Sumter County here, but if you were looking for a home in Lake County, then you would go to that website. Same thing with Marion. So we'll go ahead and click on this first link right here at the top, and it's going to bring us to this web page. Now on this web page, we're going to click right here in the middle where it says pay or search for property taxes. And once this new web page has opened up, you can go ahead and punch in the address if you know of a particular home. So let's go ahead and type in an address here. All right, and we'll go ahead and click on the first one because that's the address we're trying to find. And if we go ahead and scroll down, you can see a history of all the prior tax bills. Now you want to make sure that you're clicking this most recent tax bill that's going to be here at the top. This is because the millage rates are subject to change over time. So by clicking the most recent one, this is going to give you the best chance of getting a good estimate on those property taxes. So once you go ahead and click right there at the top for the tax bill you want to see, you can go ahead and scroll down, and this number right here is going to be the millage rate. So this is the number that you're going to use to multiply the taxable value times this millage rate right here, and that's going to give you an assessment on what those property taxes are going to be. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and remember, if you're looking to check out a home in Lake or Marion County, just make sure you go to their website and follow the same process to pull up the tax bill, use the most recent one, and get the millage rate so you can do the calculation yourself. Now another tip for you, if you're shopping for homes online or in person, I would never look at what the current property owners are paying because this is not going to be a good basis for determining anything. Now, I understand where most people are coming from when they try to do this. They just want to look to get an idea or an estimate for what they'll end up paying. But keep in mind, this number for what you see the previous owner is paying is almost never going to be what you end up paying on your taxes. The best thing you can do to get an estimate of how much your taxes are going to be would be talking with your realtor, or you could always go online to whatever county that home is in. So again, in Sumter County, on the Sumter County Tax Collector's website, and they have an area on there, which I'll be sure to link in the description down below, and it'll give you an estimate of how much you can expect to pay when you're purchasing a new home. So now that we know more about taxes and how they're calculated, let's go ahead and talk about the other items you can expect to find on your tax bill here in the Villages. So when you get your annual tax bill, at the top you can expect to find your property taxes broken out for you, and they'll usually call this your ad valorem taxes or your ad valorem assessments, and then down towards the bottom you'll see your non-ad valorem taxes or non-ad valorem assessments, and this is going to be the CDD fees here in the Villages. So let's talk about those CDDs, what they are, and what they're used for. The Villages is classified as a CDD, or Community Development District, and they have 3 fees that they primarily charge to operate as such. This includes the bond, the fire assessment, and the maintenance fee. So let's first discuss the bond. Now, the bond is going to vary a lot depending on the areas that you're looking in. Some areas have no bond, and some areas can have bonds upwards of $50,000. So again, this will vary a ton. My best recommendation would be to talk with your realtor if you have some homes that you're interested in or a particular area, because most of the time the bonds in that area or on a particular home will be super easy to find. They could also go online, or you could go online and check it out on the Village's website to get a good estimate of how much the bond is going to be. But again, if you're looking all throughout the Villages, it's really hard to say because some bonds are paid off and some are just getting started. So talk with your realtor or go online to check it out. Now, the next CDD fee is going to be the fire assessment. This is for the Village's fire and protection services, equipment, and having facilities here in the Villages, Florida. At the time of recording this video, the fire assessment is $125 annually, and again, it gets paid on your tax bill. Lastly, that brings us to the maintenance fee, which is meant to maintain the infrastructure in your local neighborhood. This would be things such as roads and utilities. Now, just to be clear, this is not for individual property maintenance. I repeat, not for individual property maintenance. This is strictly maintaining the common areas, medians along the road, that type of thing. And in my experience, this ranges anywhere from $500 usually up to about $800 or $900 annually, and again, it gets paid on your tax bill. So again, these 3 items you're going to see on your tax bill every single year. Now, depending on how much the bond balance is, you're going to pay a portion of it each year on your tax bill. They are usually amortized for about 30 years, so it breaks it down into about 30 years worth of payments. So depending on that balance dictates the payment a lot, but I would expect to pay $125 again for your fire assessment, and usually between $500 to $800 or $900 on the maintenance. Also, don't forget about the amenity fee. This is something that sometimes gets forgotten about, and it is the only fee that is billed monthly. All the other fees are billed annually on your tax bill, and the amenity fee, again, as of the recording of this video, is $195 per month. So let's talk about some of the different areas and the different tax rates that exist throughout the Villages. Homes in Marion County are going to have the highest tax rates. Homes in Sumter County are going to have the lowest tax rates, and homes in Lake County are usually going to be somewhere right in the middle. Now, this is extremely important to know because I usually hear people talk a lot about the new construction that's going on over in Lake County, and those homes that are in Lake County currently being built have tax rates that are at least 20 to 25% higher than very comparable homes that exist over in Sumter County. And that, in my opinion, is why the prices are much, much lower. Now, we're not going to talk about that too much in today's video, but that is something to keep in mind. If you are looking at new construction homes over there in Lake County, those taxes are going to be much higher than comparable pre-existing homes over in Sumter County. But don't take my word for it. Let's check it out together. I went ahead and gathered 5 homes that are completely identical in terms of the size, layout, everything. The only difference is going to be the location. Some of them are in Sumter County, some of them are in Lake, Marion, and some of them have different municipalities or towns that they are a part of, which is going to affect the millage rate quite a lot. So let's go ahead and compare those numbers to see what this actually means and how much of a difference it's going to make. All right, so let's go ahead and check out how different the taxes really are here throughout the villages. And I did actually only have 4 homes ready because the 5th home, I noticed that the 2nd and 5th home had the same millage rate. So those numbers are just going to be identical. So I went ahead and cut that one out. So we have 2 homes here in Sumter County we'll be going over, 1 in Marion and 1 in Lake County. Now again, other than the location, these homes are completely identical. So what that means is they are same square footage, same layout, same everything, and this is to try and keep apples to apples as much as possible. So that way, when we're looking at the assessed value on these homes, we can see how different the taxes really are. So again, just like earlier when we got to this page, we want to go ahead and look for the millage rate, which we can see right here. Now on this particular home, we can see there's 3 different taxing authorities. We have Sumter County, we have the school board, and we have Swiftmud. Each of them has their own individual millage rate that they're applying, and this is the total millage rate that we're seeing down here. So as we look at each of these homes, what we're going to do is we're going to assume that each of them has a taxable value of 400,000. So that way, when we do our calculation, we can see how different the numbers really are. So let's go ahead and check it out on this first home here. So if we're assuming the taxable value is 400,000, that is the first step. We punch that in and we divide that now by 1,000. This gives us 400, and now we are going to go ahead and multiply it by the millage rate we see right here. So we're going to multiply this times 10.3813. And this gives us an estimate on what the taxes would be on a $400,000 home with this millage rate. So this comes out to $4,152. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and check out the second home here. And you can see that initially I was up here and now we're checking out the second home. This one looks very similar. Again, this one is still located in Sumter County, and you have your Sumter County taxing assessment here. You have your school board assessment and your Swiftmud. The only difference is on this taxing assessment, it's located within the city of Wildwood. So that just means the home is within the city of Wildwood. So we're going to do the same exact calculation that we did on the previous one. Assuming the home has a taxable value of 400,000, we'll go ahead and take that number and divide it by 1,000. Gives us 400 once again. And now we're going to multiply this number by the millage rate, which we can see the millage rate is a bit higher here because the city of Wildwood has added their millage in. So we're going to multiply this times 13.21. And now we can see that the taxes are $5,284 for this particular home. So now we're checking out the home here in Marion County. We're on the 3rd home here at the top. It's the same process for looking up a home regardless of which county you're doing it in. Just make sure you go to that county website, punch in the address, click on the most recent tax bill, and here you are. So you can see on this tax bill here, the millage is broken down similar to the other ones, but it does look a little bit different because here at the top we have our county assessments, we have our school assessments, water, this is a city assessment, looks like for law enforcement and medical services, and they do have some exemptions on here as well, but that does not take away from the millage. So assuming that this home, again, has the same taxable value as the other homes, the first thing we're going to do is punch in the taxable value. We're going to go ahead and now divide that by 1,000. And once we have this number, we're going to go ahead and now multiply the 400 times the millage rate, which is 15.73830. And when we press enter, we can see the estimated taxes on this particular home are $6,295. And lastly, we're going to be looking at the same home again, but now in Lake County. So you can see this is how Lake County has it broken up. This website is kind of similar to Sumter, but there is a few differences. For example, you can see the millage all broken out in this column here, and there's the taxing authorities on this side. So Lake County's at the top, and they have some for ambulance, environmental services, water authority, so forth. There's the public schools, and everything else is broken down here. So one last time, if we assume that this home also has a taxable value of 400,000, we can go ahead and now divide that by 1,000, which is that first step. And then we are going to multiply the result by the millage rate. So this is going to be times 15.8166, and this gives us $6,326 for the estimated taxes on this home. So these results definitely told us some interesting things. You can see on the high end, the taxes were over $6,300, and on the low end, the taxes were closer to $4,100 or $4,200. So depending on the area that you're looking in, even if you're buying an identical home, it's really important to keep in mind what the taxes are going to be, because it could end up saving you thousands of dollars or more every single year. For example, when you're looking at the Lake County taxes having a millage rate of 15.8166 and the Sumter County tax rate of 10.3813, assuming the home has the exact same assessed value, if you bought this home in Sumter County versus the exact same one in Lake County, you're going to end up saving $2,174 on your taxes per year. So I hope you found that helpful. It's just important to keep in mind when you're looking for homes in a particular area or if you're considering buying or selling. And something else you should keep in mind is the first year that you purchase your home is not going to be the taxes that you will pay in subsequent years. Usually it's going to go up quite a lot because the assessed value is going to change the following year, not the year you initially purchased your home. This is always something you should keep in mind and consider, but this is especially important if you're getting a mortgage, in my opinion, because most of the time people are basing their mortgage payment right around how much they can afford. So be sure to talk with your lender and your realtor, let them know what you're planning to do, how much you can afford, because you wouldn't want your payment to be right on the cusp of what you're comfortable or able to pay, and then the following year when the taxes get reassessed, if they go up a lot, now your payment is something you can't afford or cannot easily afford, and it could really put you in a bind. If you have a mortgage or if you plan on getting a mortgage, since taxes and insurance are automatically included in the payments, as these things go up over time, so will your mortgage payment. So keep in mind, even if you have a fixed interest rate, your mortgage payment is not necessarily fixed, because as we know, taxes tend to go up every year and insurance usually goes up every year as well. It is so important to ask all the right tax questions and talk with your realtor when you're buying a home, because the absolute last thing you would want to happen is when it's all said and done, after you've closed, maybe even the following year, to get an unpleasant surprise from something you were not expecting. Just remember, don't hesitate to ask your realtor or even ask me for any important tax questions you may have before you make the big purchase. So with that said, I hope you found this video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so it promotes the video to more wonderful people just like yourself. If you have any specific questions or concerns about buying in the Villages, be sure to drop a comment down below, and I always make sure to respond to every comment so that way your question will be answered. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and until next time.